Let me paint a picture. Your biggest client calls you and says, we love working with you, but going forward, we need you to be ISO 27001 certified. And then they add, you've got 6 months. Now, suddenly you're left asking, is that even realistic? How long does ISO 27001 actually take? And where do we even start? I'm Gary Hibbard of Consultants Like Us, where we believe that compliance without complexity is really key. But let me explain to you what this is all about, because here's the truth. Most small businesses either underestimate the timeline for 27001 or overcomplicate the process, which means that they overshoot and overestimate how long it's going to take. So in this video, I want to share with you answers to some very honest questions that we get asked all the time. First, how long does ISO 27001 really take? They often ask what affects that timeline and how to avoid those mistakes that slow me down. Well, I want to answer those particular questions on here because consultants like us believe that everyone should be looking to achieve 27001, and it is indeed achievable. But before we get into that, let's discuss what 27001 actually is. Well, it isn't just a certificate. That's first and foremost. It's a management system. It's a structured way of protecting your business information. Think of it like this. It's not installing a lock, it's building a secure system around your entire home. That includes thinking about people, premises, processes, PCs, systems, and providers. And why does it matter? Why is it important? Well, for small businesses, it builds trust with clients, it unlocks bigger clients, and it reduces the risk of costly breaches. So when someone asks, how long does certification take? What they're really asking is, how long does it take to build a secure, well-run business? So let's break this down into some realistic chunks and milestones for you to follow. Let's break it down into 4 key phases. Phase 1, preparation and gap analysis is the first aspect of this. It takes between 2 and 4 weeks to do this. This is where you ask, where are we now and what's missing? You review your policies, the controls that are in place. You identify risks. You look for your internal and external issues. This is where you look to see what is in place and what the gaps are. Think of it as a survey before building a house. Now, I would say that in this preparation and gap analysis, of course, there's things you're going to do, taking 2 to 4 weeks doing this. This is about learning more about your business than perhaps you know about it right now. It's sitting with a piece of paper to say, what do we do? How do we do it? What data and information do we hold? ISO 27001 refers to this as informational assets. We just simply prefer to say that you can't protect what you don't understand. So sitting with a piece of paper and understanding what you have, what hardware, what laptops, mobile phones, tablets, that kind of thing, what do you have, and then what's installed on them, and then what data do you hold in those systems. That's getting to grips with understanding really what you have out there. And then once you understand that, you can then say, well, what controls do we need to put in place that are outlined within ISO 27001? And before we continue, really important point, go and buy the standard. Do yourself a favor. Don't just watch these videos. Don't just go onto Google and search, or ChatGPT and search for what is ISO 27001. That's great. It'll get you so far. But do yourselves a favor. Buy the standard. Go and read it. I may touch on that again later. So that's phase 1. That's getting to know you. That's the preparation and the gap analysis. Phase two, well, now we're going to start building things. We're going to implement this. This is where the heavy lifting begins. You are going to create policies, you're going to write processes, you're going to implement controls, you're going to train your teams, you're going to conduct audits, you're going to manage risks. This is where most of the time goes. And that, well, in truth, the implementation can take anything between 2 and 4 months. And as I said, this is where the time goes, because this is where you actually change how your business operates. The next part of this is this internal audit and readiness phase. This is phase 3, and typically is between 2 and 4 weeks. So it's a lot shorter, because before certification, you need to check your own work. You need to make sure that everything is in place. Have you been conducting your management review meetings? Have you been conducting audits? Are we doing what we said we would do? Are the policies there? Are there any gaps? Are there any issues that we've identified? Are there any additional risks that we need to manage? And you need to fix those issues now before the auditor finds them. And then the final phase is your certification audit. That again is between 4 and 8 weeks. This is done by an external certification body, and it's a 2-stage process. So stage 1, documentation review, and then stage 2 is a full audit. So stage 1 is, you can probably refer to it as almost like a mock exam. It's where the cert body are going to come along and check to see that there are no gaps in your information security management system. And if everything is looking good, then they will give you a rubber stamp to say, yep, move on to stage 2, which is the full audit. That's the part that at the end of your stage 2, well, if it all goes well, congratulations, you're certified. So in brief, your total timeline is this. For small businesses, 3 to 6 months, if well organized. 6 to 12 months is more typical for organizations that just wanted to do this more in a more relaxed manner. And well, if things start to stall, then it can be 12 months plus. Now, we consultants like us typically will say to clients that we can take them from a standing position to fully certified between 3 and 6 months, because to do it right, which is what we're all about, then it requires some effort on all parts. But what can affect that timeline? Well, just keep in mind that, of course, not all businesses are the same. Here's what really impacts the timeline. First of all, your starting point. If you already have good policies and you've got some other ISO standards in place, like ISO 9001 or 14001 or 22301, so quality, environment, business continuity, respectively. If you've got those other kinds of things in place, then you'll already have a mindset around what is required for ISO. So you'll be a lot further on. You'll be moving much, much faster. If not, then of course you're going to be starting from scratch. Another thing that impacts upon the timeline of this, of course, is the business size and complexity. More people, more sites, more systems, more risks, more time. Simple business equals faster, more complex business equals slower. But I will caveat this by simply saying here, yes, business size and complexity do matter, but it's about the scope. What is in scope? We've worked with organizations as small as 2 people all the way up to 10,000 people, quite literally global organizations operating in multiple different jurisdictions and regions around the world, highly complex. But the scope was set to just 2 or 3 of the key services that they wanted to cover, and those services themselves were the subject of ISO 27001. So we achieved ISO 27001 certification within 6 months. So yes, business size and complexity do play a factor into this, but you need to answer the question, what is in scope? What are you trying to achieve? Why do you need this? Again, we may touch on that later. Another thing that impacts upon the time it takes to do this is the internal resources. If ISO 27001 is, I don't know, something we do when we have the time, it will drag on for months. If it's a priority with ownership, it moves far quicker. So assessing the resources that you need for 27001 is really important. And before we move on to that, from that, I will say to you, when people ask me how much does it cost, well, I ask them, I don't ask them, I simply state that it's two things. The cost is both in financial cost, of course, there's a hard number that you're going to have to find, but cost also in time and effort. How much time do you have to put into this, either for yourself or to work with consultants like us? You're going to have to spend some time doing this, and dare I say it, time is probably the most valuable resource that any one of us has. So you've got to ask yourself, financially, can we afford to do this? And resource ways and focused, do we have the time for that as well? Another thing that can impact upon this, actually, as I'm thinking about this, is, of course, if you get external support. Working with an experienced consultant like us, of course, it will cut through confusion, it will avoid rework, it keeps momentum. And without that, you can expect more trial and error, and of course, it's going to slow you down. At the end of the day, what are you paying for from a consultant like us is, of course, skill, experience, and knowledge in helping to drive this forward. We know exactly what you're looking for. So consultants like us, we essentially just help you keep on target. We know what good looks like, and therefore, of course, that's going to impact upon your timeline, make it quicker. But if you decide you don't want any external support, then that goes back to the other point that I made about internal resource. Do you have the time to be able to achieve this? Now, let me give you some real world examples here of where things have gone well and where things haven't gone so well. I recall a small tech company that had a 3-month deadline and they rushed everything. The policies were copied and they downloaded from other websites and various other places. It was a bit of a phrase that we love is a bit of a schmozzle. It was just this almost a Frankenstein's monster that they bolted together to try and achieve 27001. The controls were half implemented, and then the audit day came along, and of course they had lots and lots of non-conformities. The certification was delayed, the client confidence in them was shaken, and the lesson is you just can't rush credibility. So you should really look at ISO 27001 as a strategic decision that your business is going to make. And the strategic approach is this. When we worked with an organization recently, they decided that they didn't want to rush this, that we said to them, look, we think we can get you to between certified within 3 to 6 months. And they said, well, look, let's put it on the outside of that. Let's say 6 months is going to take to do this. And we worked with them and they embedded controls properly. They trained their people. So not only training them, but helping them understand the importance of 27001, not just simply explaining to them what phishing attacks were or what ransomware is and, you know, the usual don't click the link type training. They explained how 27001 would fit within their role, what it meant to them and the business. And they really understood their risks. They really took time to understand what the risks were and what the controls were and how these risks should be treated. And the result, well, I mean, it was a home run. They passed first time. They won a major contract not long after that, and they became a trusted supplier and continue to be a trusted supplier. And we're really proud to work with them because they're genuinely a shining example of what 27001 is all about. And I've said this on other videos, which is that 27001 is not about a certificate on your wall. It's not even about the journey, it's not the destination, it's not the journey, it's who you become on the journey, who you become by embodying what 27001 is all about. And they really saw it as a strategic action that they wanted to perform for their business. And they said that this really did take them beyond compliance. So they used 27001 to improve processes, of course, manage and reduce incidents. And as I've already said, they used it to build trust with their clients. They didn't see 27001's certificate as the goal. It was merely the byproduct of doing things properly. Now, another thing that will, of course, affect the way that, or the timeline around you implementing 27001 is whether you decide to do it yourself or you use a consultant like us. Because let's be honest, there are two options. I mean, there is a third option, which is we do it with you. So you DIY, you do it yourself, you do it with us, or we do it for you. And you essentially hand it over to us and say, go and help us put this in place. If we do it with you, then we'll sit alongside you, we'll train you, we'll give you the policies and the guidance you need, but you're pretty much doing it yourself. Do it yourself is literally white knuckle riding this thing. You're gonna be going onto the internet, you're gonna be buying policy packs unknown if they're going to be any good, you're gonna be using ChatGPT, and of course the decision you make is going to affect how long this is going to take. Doing it yourself, of course, lower cost, slower, and there's a higher risk of mistakes. Do it with a consultant, of course, it's going to be faster, it'll be more structured, there will be less rework, but it still requires involvement from you. Do it with consultants like us, then of course there's some involvement from you. And then if we're doing it for you, then there's going to be less work for you. But remember, you own the management system. This is your management system. It should not be just something that the consultant goes away and just creates for you over here and it simply goes ta-da and shows you what they've created. That's not good. This is your management system. So irrespective of which decision you decide to go, DIY, do it with you, do it for you, remember, you own the management system. So, okay, what should you expect? I just want to draw this to a close because I know that I've been talking about this for a long time because I think it's really important. It's a topic that we hear so many times. If you're a small business, the honest expectation is this. I said it earlier, a focused and supported approach, 3 to 6 months. If you're balancing everything else, 6 to 9 months. And if it's a low priority, 12 months. Take your time. You're in no rush. The timeline isn't the challenge. In reality, it's the commitment. That's the real challenge. So in closing, I'm just going to say this to you. Rather than ask, how much is this going to cost? How long is this going to take? Just ask this simple question. Why do we want ISO 27001? Once you have answered that question, you can then assess where you are today and then set a realistic timeline, not an optimistic one, a realistic one. And most importantly, decide who owns this internally, because ISO 27001 should be treated as a project initially, but ultimately it's a program of change. It's how you run your business securely in the long run. You don't need to rush it, but you do need to start, because the business that plan properly are the ones that get certified faster and better. Now, I hope that's been helpful, and I hope that's kind of answered the question of how long does this take, but I think I've answered a few other questions in there. Yeah, I went into quite a bit of detail in there, but you've got a project plan, right? And do you know what? If you reach out to me, I will actually break this down and put it on a page for you, and I'll send it over to you. I can't say fairer than that. But yeah, my name is Gary from Consultants Like Us, and we believe in compliance without complexity. We're here to help. ISO 27001 is a fantastic management system. I wish you luck on your journey. Let me know what how long it takes you to do this. I would be truly interested. But please do share, do give this a like, do give this a comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and stay connected. Bye bye.